Hey, welcome to David's Life and Observation with your host David Welch. Yesterday was nuts. So let's talk about storming of the Capitol and why we're in fact allowed to do it. First off, secondly, the woman getting shot in the neck is a huge issue because her going through a barrier, obviously is dumb. Where's the detention? Was she armed? Where was the threat? Let me ask that question. Law enforcement officers get a lot of shit for making hasty decisions. In this instance, this woman going through a barricade by herself through a window for some reason was just non-detainable. Couldn't do it. She was too big, too bad, too tough for the fucking weak ass Capitol Police and Secret Service. The person who decided to pull the trigger was wrong. And you can say all day, well, she was storming the Capitol with armed protesters. I didn't see armed protesters. I didn't see anyone armed. And if they were armed, here's where you guys fucked up. We have an obligation to stand for things in this country if things are not going right. And guess what, motherfuckers? We're allowed to do that by force with our government. So I think this will go down as the shot heard around the world. And people who had previously disengaged from the political theater and drama are going to re-engage even more so, because in this instance, it's not Antifa, it's not Black Lives Matter, it's MAGA. It's Trump supporters. And Trump has since said, hey, go home. He even said it during the protest, hey, go home. There's other ways to go about this. And he's gone on since to say, you know what, I want to make an orderly transition. And I honestly think it's because he doesn't want more people to die in the name of, him. He doesn't want more people to die in the name of Make America Great Again. He doesn't want more people to lose their life doing something they're legally allowed to do as per our Constitution and redress our grievances and take it upon ourselves to do that with members of Congress, with government officials. Now, if government officials want to hide behind a steel wall, who are they really working for? It's facts. They don't care. They don't care about Democrat, Republican, Independent. They don't care. Flat out. They really don't. We have this tragedy of this woman dying. We had a kid that went on Twitter too, or was on News Network saying it could have been him. She just happened to be the first one through the door. And I think they had every intention on, going in there, making their case made, and saying, hey, let's go ahead and let's get this recount going, because they believe, and there's a huge chunk of America that believes, that the election wasn't done properly. It's fair to say, because you have cyber experts and you have all sorts of people who have taken a look at these voting machines and the voting processes wherever, and they have found fault with huge swaths of votes. You have camera footage of people, moving votes here, there, and another. You have people who have obvious political bias driving to light votes on fire. I mean, so there's a lot of political gamesmanship going on to say, you know what, Biden won hands down, because that's not necessarily the case. It's not. Does he win overall? Probably. Probably. And then you concede. But, I honestly think this is the first time in at least our history we should have given a re election, a total, hands down re election a shot, because this is the first time in history that it's been challenged so hard. That the votes were challenged with this much vitriol and anger and whatever have you. I'm just damn surprised. I am damn surprised that the whoever shot yesterday felt that scared to shoot a woman in the neck who was coming through a broken window in a crouched position with a backpack, jeans, sweater maybe, no gun, no stick, no weapon of any kind, other than her belief that the election wasn't fair. And whoever shot, honestly, needs to be held accountable. If we're going to hold street officers, sergeants, lieutenants, whatever, to a standard of, hey, make sure there's a clear threat to people before you shoot, the same must be held at the federal level. Actually, the scrutiny should probably be even more so. Where was the imminent danger to life and limb? I don't see it. The only ones throwing flashbangs were the federal police. The only ones throwing tear gas were the federal police. So, again, I'll ask you, where was the danger? Now, a lot of people are statists. A lot of people are like, well, she was breaking the law. Well, maybe. And a lot of people are out there, well, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. That's hilarious because usually that's Republicans and conservatives saying that shit. And it's usually conservative or Republican police officers saying that shit. And this is kind of a flip the script because, Black Lives Matter and other groups wishing pain and death on another group purely because of their beliefs. And it's like, do you or do you not want a peaceful resolution at the end of the day? That's the question you got to ask yourself. Is there a point at which you decide, you know what? Instead of wishing death and pain and anger and all this upon somebody who has a simple difference in beliefs or a simple belief that their government is corrupt, which I'm not going to say the Black Lives Matter group or Antifa say that that's not the case. In fact, if there is a consensus among all the political parties, is that the federal government does not do for the American people. Nine times out of 10, they're going to vote for their own interest. Just the way it works. They don't care about you. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a rat's patootie about, Jane and Jim, Smith and Wichita fucking Kansas. They don't. They don't care about you. They don't care about Billy and Travis and Trevor and Amy and, Shiloh or whatever the fuck you want to name your kids these days. They don't care. They only care about their coffers, their future, and their business and the ability to make money. We have congressmen that go in there. Now, these congressmen aren't going in to Congress poor, oftentimes. They're going there with a little bit of money because, they did win their election seat. And they're able to stay in Congress forever, essentially forever. I mean, you have people that have been in Congress who are just so out of touch with reality, so out of touch with the American people that they cannot tell you emphatically how things work anymore. Can't. They have the last time they felt scarcity was back before they got elected. So you got to think, somebody's been on cloud nine without the whole concept of scarcity for going on 5, 10, 20, 30 plus years in Congress. So they don't have an idea of how it is to live in these times with scarcity. They don't. They can tell you all day. And we've seen it actually in Congress play out where we have teachers, we have congresswomen that are awesome going on the floor and pitching their case to people who quite frankly are out of touch. And they'll say, you know what? You can't live on what people live on. You can't do what people are doing out there in the world. So why are you making it harder for them? And they challenge them. They challenge congressmen and other congresswomen to make the right choice in a lot of the cases. But then again, they're not going to vote for the American people. They're going to vote for what they want. And we have to uproot this system. This lady getting shot yesterday actually makes that more and more prevalent. Because you got to look at the totality of the circumstances. Was she part of a protest group doing damage? Okay. Okay. Has the White House or, has the Capitol been stormed before and set ablaze and all that? Yeah. Because it's stuff. It's stuff. That's what it is. It's stuff. If you go and ask yourself who was in real danger, the armed guys were in danger. I mean, you can say that they had probable cause to, discharge their weapon, and it just does not pass the snuff test. It doesn't. You had no reason to open fire. These people are people. They're not zombies. What would have been? How would it have looked if somebody would have just moved forward and started detaining people? Zip ties, handcuffs, simple movements, maybe a little bit of jujitsu built into that motherfucker. I mean, come on. You're really going to sit here and tell me that there was no other recourse other than to shoot this lady in the neck? You're gonna be the ones that sit there and be like, well, because she was wearing a MAGA hat, she deserved. Are you serious about that? Because those same people, as soon as a Black Lives Matter person or somebody on your political spectrum, gets shot in the neck and they die, and you're feeling outraged, they're gonna do the same shit to you, and that cycle's gonna keep going. They're gonna be like, well, he was probably a criminal. He deserved dead. And guess what? That person probably was a motherfucking criminal. Did this lady have a criminal past? Fuck no. Other than she decided to one day take it upon herself to go to the Capitol with a whole bunch of other fucking people and to make sure that this system is fair. To make sure that the system was done properly. And we fucking know that it wasn't. So why are people fucking I don't see why people are complaining about them wanting to have a very thorough, a very hard investigation done. It's like you have all this political power to make shit happen, and for some reason you choose not to investigate. You choose not to do, the due diligence to go through the due process to make sure we had an election that was okay, that was done properly, and for you to have a sitting president say, hey, that wasn't done properly, or I'm challenging this. Why is that challenge not being thoroughly looked at? And I'm sure it was within the small confines of court cases because we as the American public didn't see those. We didn't see them. So you have Joan and Jane Smith from wherever the fuck they're from saying, hey, we believe there's credible evidence to believe that this is a rigged election, that we've had more states turning blue, which, quite frankly, a lot of conservative people are like, listen, I know thousands of people, hundreds of people, whatever have you. I can't name one person that voted for Biden, yet he has all these magical votes from, these cities. And it's so funny that whether it's Republican or Democrat, you still have people that are dead who are still registering to vote. And it's like, yo, this person died like a year ago or 2 years ago, or, it's impossible for me to have voted because I know I didn't vote, but somehow my shit ended up on a voter registry. How is that possible? So you have voter fraud actually taking place. And quite what it comes down to, quite frankly, is they don't have the time, they don't have the inclination or want or desire to do a double check or a triple check. The reason for that is because they want their guy to win, and they want their guy to win at all costs. They want their guy to be the only guy who has a possibility of winning because they want to push their political bullshit for the next 4 years. And we've dealt with Biden and his policies forever. We've dealt with this dude already. Why on God's green earth would you want this motherfucker as a president? I don't understand. I really don't. He's not for the poor people. He's not for anybody but his own self-interest. That's been the case. This dude backed Clinton when it came to, hey, we need to be tougher on crime. So all the fucking people who are in the system that have the who've been in the system wrongly convicted, wrongly accused, wrongly, treated poorly with the justice system. Biden helped create, motherfuckers. Like, do your fucking research before you decide to vote an asshole in who has a record of one talking out of his ass, doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about 90% of the time. He is a creeper among creepers with young women, young girls, young kids of all fucking sexes and ages. And this dude's, I swear he's probably a member of fucking NAMBLA or a pedophile in some sort of fucking way, because he is creepy around fucking kids. If you're old and you're, way out of fucking touch with people, don't touch them. If you don't know them on that kind of level and they don't come to you with open arms, don't touch them. Stay your creepy ass away and stop sniffing people. It's weird. Okay? Now, on the other hand, you got Trump. Trump is a personality. Say whatever you want about his presidency. Could have gone worse, could have gone better. Whatever. Does he believe he was wronged? Sure. If a president believes they are wronged, it should be investigated. For sure. Why he didn't kick off the investigation was setting up a team and doing all that shit, and he probably did. But when you got both Republicans and Democrats vying for this guy's seat, they don't care. They're not going to do shit properly. They're literally going to do shit wrong in order to get this guy ousted, and then they're going to put in a puppet that they can control. Biden. Biden's the perfect puppet because this guy doesn't think for himself. This guy is a guy who cannot fucking stand adverse criticism. If you try and have a conversation with this guy and you start spitting facts, he'll get mad and talk over you, because that's what political people do. They get mad, they try and talk over you, or they get so fucking beat down with your comments and logic that they just leave. They just leave and they're like, you know what, fuck you. When you have politicos and people or politicians that say fuck you to the American people and their constituents, it's time to get them out. And they're like, I just don't understand why people can't go through the process of impeachment. Like, impeachment's there for people to oust these fuckers quicker than they're put in. You want to change a regime? Change it. Now, there are people that are stuck like ticks because they have no competition. There's no competition where some of these people are congressmen and congresspeople, because, quite frankly, the rural people out there are they're not collected enough to fight against the person that's in the office. They're just not. And they're going to vote for who they've been voting for the last 20 plus years, because that person said back in 1998 that he was for him, or whatever case. And they're just going off of old news. They're not anywhere near understanding of what's going on in the present day, nor do they fucking see these people's votes. I think, the vote record should be made public to the American people, and we should know what our congressmen are voting on all the time and who voted for what. Exact names, what they voted for, and then that way we can go challenge them on the campaign trail, and say, listen, you voted for marijuana to not be legal in our state. What's going on with that? I thought you were for the legalization of cannabis. I thought you were for the American people. The American people want to do their drugs. Flat out, point blank, that's it. They want to do their drugs. Let's go back to this lady who was shot in the neck. Honestly, that's a bad shoot. People are going to scream at the top of their lungs, well, she was storming the building. Okay. Great. She was storming the building. And I understand that those officers have little to no fucking defense other than a handgun. I also get that. I really do. However, have a system in place where you mobilize the police quicker. Have an understanding that using non-lethal would probably be the best case scenario in a situation like that against the American people. Because now here's what you've set up. You set up a scenario where the next time this happens, the American people, no matter what fucking political system they align with, they're really going to go armed. Like armed. And if you think you're big and bad enough in the government to fucking win, nope. Not going to win. the people will figure out a way. They will use fucking cloak and dagger tactics to off you now. They will use incendiaries. They will use bombs. They will use mechanisms of mass damage because they can't go in and simply get their questions and concerns redressed with the government because these motherfuckers want to shoot people in the neck. If you can't stand the American people enough to give them the benefit of the doubt, and say, listen, you come through that door, we're going to detain you. You come through that door, we're going to go ahead and, use non-lethal, or we're going to use, less than lethal options against you. People will probably think twice. And if they're okay with getting pepperballed and, shot with salt and all sorts of shit, and they still want to get through, then they really want to redress their grievances. And maybe somebody with some political clout can say, hey, let's stop right here. Let's listen to what you have to say, and let's have a dialogue. Was the dialogue established? No. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of crying, and there was a lot of bitch-assness coming from, these government officers who decided to shoot someone versus, like I said, what was wrong with detention? That was one person going through this tiny little square. And then, you had the desired effect. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and kill this one person in order to prevent others from coming through the door. That sacrifice is too great. Too big. Well, nobody should have died in that scenario yesterday. Nobody. Not one fucking person. Now, could I have understood somebody getting trampled maybe on the Exodus? Okay. That's protesters stomping on protesters. Could it have been, hey, blind fucking luck, pepper ball hit somebody in the neck, suffocated them, they died? Okay. That shit could have happened. It was less than lethal. It could have happened. Then you have an asshole who shoots purposefully someone in the neck when you have center mass still. You have them going through a fucking little glass door, and you're looking at their entire visage. That person's probably not armed. It's not likely that they're armed. Nobody's been shooting at you up to that point. I would understand if it was a gunfight, but there was no gunfight. Where was the imminent danger to life and limb? And I'll keep beating that down. Now, let's talk about a little something that's really got me peeved lately. Outside of this issue. Cops are getting let off on murder. Kenosha police let off on murder. You have several cases in the news where cops are killing people at accelerated rate and nothing's happening to the cops. But then you mentioned Christopher Dorner, and people are like, well, we're going to lock you up because, that guy wrote a manifesto and he wanted to kill cops. He was right. He was absolutely right. He absolutely should have killed more cops. I endorse him. I endorse anybody who wants to kill government officials right now because, quite frankly, they're not listening to the American people and they're not giving a flying fuck. They're just not. But that's just where we're at. I'm going to let you guys leave on that. I'm going to just end it because it's like there's so much anger and vitriol out there and so much vying for political position that it's a lose-lose right now for everybody. I think people just need to go home and relax for about a couple weeks, take another holiday off and not do anything, and then move forward. That might be the best case, action. Let the transition happen and then come back with pitchforks and shit and then oust Biden. Because he's a dumbass. Doesn't need to be in office. That's my political view. Take it for whatever it is. I believe it should have been Jo Jorgensen. She should have been allowed to speak at the presidential debate. In fact, I believe all candidates deserve a platform to speak at the debate. To purposely leave them out is I believe, a gross misrepresentation of the election.